Hi everyone, Dead Battery here, and thank you for joining me on my channel. I'm really excited about today's video because this game console was discontinued in less than a year, and from what I could find, some stores only had it on its shelves for a couple weeks before it was pulled. What console am I talking about? Well, it's called the Casio PV1000. Now, this is considered a third generation home console system, and it was released in Japan and only Japan in October of 1983. And at the time, it was being sold for 14,800 yen. Casio was doing really well at the time, and they decided they wanted to try to be the best 8-bit system. This came out around the same time as the Nintendo's Famicom, and they were hoping that people would buy their system over the Famicom since the Famicom was getting sold out in a lot of places and it just wasn't on the shelves. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I couldn't find too much on why it failed. I did read a couple articles that stated something to do with their marketing and the fact that they were trying to do the PV2000 at the same time. So for the PV1000, there are 15 games, but apparently 2 of the games were not released. So in reality, there were only 13 games. And the games were roughly 3,800 yen. The 2 games that were rumored were Galaga and Frontline. And if you look at the list for the PV2000, both those games are actually listed for it. This was another junk find, and it was kind of random. I didn't know what it was. I saw it. I decided to look it up and decided to snag it. Since this is an older system, I decided that a capacitor swap was probably a smart move. So let's open up this Casio PV1000 and let's see what it looks like on the inside. This is what the Casio PV1000 looks like. It's just your basic home console with the game cartridge slot on the top. It's in really good condition. It's a little dirty, but there doesn't seem to be too many scratches. There are 2 controller spots on the front. And the power is pretty cool. It's just a little switch. This also came with a bag full of stuff, so let's have a look at it. Here is the controller. I only have one, but all the buttons and everything seem in functioning order, but I don't know yet. Then you have the power, and I'm thankful that this one came with it because some of these older systems, it is harder to find. Then I've got a cord to go to the TV, and then the original way you would hook it up to the TV was this. I even have the owner's manual with it, and this is what it looks like when you hook it up to your TV. I did plug it in and test it, and the light does come on, so I feel like that's a really good sign. To open this system up, there are 6 screws on the back. They're Phillips head. And once again, these are really deep, and I do not have a screwdriver that fits in that spot. So I still have the one I borrowed. At this point, we might as well say I stole it from my husband. There are no ribbons or anything else attaching the top to the rest of it, so you can just take the top off. Now we need to take the metal protector off, and it's just 4 screws, 1 at each corner. And once that's out of the way, you can see the rest of it. And this looks really awesome. I have not experienced too many game systems with these many wires going through it. This looks so cool. It blows my mind that somebody could build something like this and just run wires back and forth and it works. It's amazing. The next step is to get the motherboard out, and it's just 5 more screws. Sometimes my local store does not carry the larger capacitors, so I did end up buying this pack off of Console 5, and I think it was under $4. And I usually go on their site and check out their pages for where all the capacitors are, and I got a little worried because there was no map of where the capacitors went except for what their numbers were. However, when I looked at the board, you can see here it actually has the writing of what capacitor goes there. So now I'm going to use my desolder gun to take all these capacitors off. Since everything's marked, I don't really need to worry about where they go. If you don't own one of these and you do a lot of swaps, I would suggest it because it clears out the hole so you don't have to worry about that later on. And it makes a really fun sound. It kind of sounds like a cow mooing. I am using the desolder gun. It doesn't really matter. I just needed something hot to remove this random middle one. And I'm going to put that one back in place right away so I don't forget which one had the positive or negative. The only capacitor I had a little trouble with is this one down on the bottom right. It was angled weird in the video and the board didn't say plus or minus like the rest of them did, so I did have to look back and pay attention to where the negative side was. Now that all the capacitors are in place, I can flip it over. I can solder all the legs into place. And then the last step is just trimming all of the legs so they're not sticking out everywhere. I can also give the shell a little bit of a wipe down and then work in reverse. So the motherboard goes on with the 5 screws. Then the metal plate goes on top with the 4 screws. Then the top goes on, flip it over, and put the last 6 screws in. Now that it's back together, we can go downstairs and test it, and I was lucky enough to find 2 of the games. It's been a struggle to find any of the games. Unfortunately, they have been very expensive, usually $8,000 and up. But I did find Dig Dug and Space Panic, both of them for around 5,000 yen. And this is Space Panic. This game actually involved climbing ladders, and I read something about it being one of the first ones. So what did you think about the Casio PV1000? I don't know if I could have fixed it if something else was wrong with it, but if there was something wrong with one of the wires, I definitely know I'm capable of re-putting wires everywhere. I don't know. I thought it was something neat to get just to see it. I really don't know if this is a system I'm going to keep or not, just because it is rare because it had a short shelf life and not because it's a highly sought after system, I think. But you can let me know in the comments if this is not correct. The games are very expensive and there's only 13 of them. I'm also very excited that I was able to find not just one game, but 2 games for roughly the same price as buying one game. I did enjoy taking it apart. I always enjoy doing a capacitor swap. on any kind of game system. I'll probably keep it a little bit to play some of the games on it, but I haven't decided what I want to do with it yet. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of this game system, and if not, what did you think about it? I definitely like to find some more of the games, but I don't know. I don't know how many are still out in the wild since it just wasn't on the shelf that long. I did see something about another system I had seen with Casio, and it was the Loopy, which is the girls' version of a game console. And now that I know a little bit about this one, I'm debating on hunting one down. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see this Casio Loopy, and I will definitely find one. This system is very interesting since it only lasted on the shelves for a couple weeks and in all less than a year. And I'm glad that it was something that I got to see and work on. Let me know in the comments what you think about this system, and maybe I can find the Loopy and the PV2000 and do a comparison with them. The only problem is I'm pretty sure none of the games are compatible with each other, so I'd at least have to find a game per system. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye!